speak before the council this evening?
David Janke, 8428 Eastwood Road. Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Good evening, David.
A question that I have is, I came home from work a little bit early, and I told my wife, I said, I got a quick look at the, she tapes meetings for me, because a lot of times I can't attend them. And I said, why, I want to look at the work session before I go down the meeting tonight. She says, I couldn't find it. So I was getting on her case. And I said, well, this is the second time this happened. Did it not? I mean, I was probably unfair to her because I was a little upset. I thought she was falling down to the job. So now I got to ask what happened, because I thought we were going to broadcast all of those meetings so residents could find out. And sincerely, I do watch them to know what to talk about and not talk about.
Essentially, the council, in discussion of the budget, kind of the vision stuff, kind of brainstorming thing, was at least what was supposed to be the case, is that we'd be kind of talking off the top of our heads and kick around ideas and things, and that these were going to be 2 or 3 meeting prior to the council meetings. And because of the nature of just kind of throwing stuff out there, it was thought of by at least the majority of the council that on these specific times that this won't be a continuing thing, and because of scheduling with the cable broadcast stuff, that was decided that these would not be televised. It wasn't anything to necessarily hide from. There's no things being snuck under the rug here. In fact, I had raised some concern even today and heard a comment from another council member saying, well, wait a second, we're starting to deal with actual stuff, not just talking, big picture things. And so, and Mr. Whiting had acknowledged at the beginning of the meeting here, of that work session, that he did apologize that some of this stuff, just because of the nature of the beast, has built up, and wanted to deal with some of it. And be honest, we didn't hardly touch anything other than budget and big picture stuff.
But I don't see nothing wrong with televising that.
No.
I mean, it's more open, and I thought that's that is the direction we were going in.
Yes.
Even if it's off the top of your head, I think that's good. I think that's good for the residents. We talked about the communication. So hopefully down the line, I'm hoping that I can see those there, because I was with the understanding that we were going to do them all. Okay, and that's enough of that, because I got a couple more. At the last meeting, a bunch of residents asked me about this, and I raised a question about it. And I could see, okay, looking at your side, maybe that's good. But I got to make a clarification, because this is what I understood and they understood. We're going to raise that fee to 4%, right, franchise fees?
Yes.
And in this meeting, you said, and I couldn't stick around, but you said, because I was always scared every time we get promised something, we've had a lot of promises that haven't happened, and I'm not condemning you or anybody up there. But I've named a lot of them, that we have had, like the golf course and stuff. But here's a fee that you said was going to strictly go to the road project so that we wouldn't assess the residents, because I tried to give your point when they asked questions. I said, well, wait, it ain't all bad, if we don't have to pay 100%. This fee is going to be set aside completely for all roads. You told me to stay and wait, and I would see that. Is that the clear understanding? I really want a clear understanding of this, because
the resolution, which was passed on a 4-to-1 vote, was to designate all of the increase, and hopefully, as Councilmember Marty had said, in the course of our budget discussions, maybe even more than just that. But the increase from 2.5 to 4, which is at 1.5%, is designated, earmarked fully for that. That was written specifically in the resolution.
okay, yeah, and I should have looked at it. So it isn't the
We can
whole
get you a copy of
4%,
it.
right? It isn't the whole 4% that's
No.
going to be.
No.
So you're just taking, and that's going to be designated totally for future road repair and whatever roads.
Yes, infrastructure repair and reconstruction, yes.
Okay, that clarifies that.
I was just
Chuck, you wanna
going to note that the resolution actually instructed staff to draft language for the council to consider in November that would formalize that to a level that the council is comfortable with as far as how easy it is or how hard it is to change that commitment.
Well, I would like to see the writing and exactly what we're going to do to guarantee that, because
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, this is no condemning you or other, but prior, we were with understandings that never took place.
Right.
What was that understanding that didn't take place?
Well, one of them, right off the bat, Mr. Quick, and you sat here with Mr. Linky, is the golf course. The taxpayer would never, ever have to
No,
be on the golf.
that was never stated. And it was never stated that we were going to abolish, let me finish, sir. It was never stated that we were going to abolish the franchise fee. The majority of the council came up to the conclusion that they would work at eliminating it, And then they were going to try to eliminate 0.5% every year. And it turned out that that wasn't feasible, so we went to 0.5% every 2 years.
I never said that was
And
one of
no
the promises.
council is tied by any action by any previous council.
I never said that that was one of the promises. I named one of them. There's other ones, but that wasn't one I named. You don't know which ones, and I got taped. The other thing is that I would still like someone, and I talked to Barb for a while about it, about this golf course, of getting rid of it. I would still like someone to research. They say we can't get rid of it because there was donated land and stuff, but I think that if we researched it, went into depth, talking to whoever donated, the county or anything, and maybe it's been done, I don't know. I think a further research that we might be able to do something so we ain't burdened with this golf course. And that's just a suggestion,
Okay,
so.
well, thank you, David. I can respond to that one. When I came into office, that was one of the things that I wanted looked into. And I made phone calls myself along with the golf course director as well. Did check into that. It is not feasible. It's a conglomerate of so many different properties and so many different designations that it would cost us more money than it's worth on that. And I certainly looked into that seriously at the beginning. My position on it is, this is something, it's wildly successful on one hand. It is operating at like 120% of estimated for a golf course of that type. The problem comes in is that the structure of the financing package is such that even though it's going nuts on the revenue side, just on a profit loss statement, it is still not able to make the bond payments, the interest payments on the bond, because of the so there's nothing wrong with the golf course. That if it were structured differently, and hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years we'll be able to refinance that bonds so that we can smooth this out, that the golf course itself isn't a drain on us per se. The drain, or the short-term problem that we face, is that the financing was set up in such a way that that is the albatross around our neck. It is not the golf course per se.
Right, and in that emergency meeting that you called, which I came down here to, you know, I got a pamphlet talking about that again, and I don't want to take up a lot of time anymore. You gave us that whole scenario when we found out the financing and what trouble we were in. And I did bring up, the pickup and a bunch of other stuff, because I look at every cost. And I said that we paid, I went back and looked at that piece of paper that I had on that whole golf course, and this golf guy said he only paid 28, but honest to God, that's what it says on that piece of paper, $35,000 some dollars. I should have brought it with me. But they must, okay, you've got a copy.
There's his actual cost.
And I remember
$35,000,
bringing that to, and you said, no, the guy stood up And then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, he didn't tell me what the paper says, I'm going to put it that way. That
It's the-
paper, you remember the paper you gave us on all those facts?
Well, the paper, since then, though, and I don't know the print date on this paperwork, the actual out-of-pocket cost for that is what Mr. Hammerschmidt testified to. Now, whether there's a number on a piece of paper somewhere else that gives an estimate, or what was thought to be the case, or it was stated actual, that probably came prior to the actual purchase of the pickup truck.
Right.
That it did not cost that much.
Okay.
The other comment is, we needed it.
Right, I'm not, I'm not arguing that, I'm not even discussing that, if he needed it or not. The part, if we want to go on, I know, I'm just saying, hey, I'm looking at 35,028. The other part is that I thought they were going to trade the other one in, but I still see that pickup is in the fleet. But let's not discuss that.
Well, I'll just briefly state that, just so to put your mind at rest on that one. It was worth relatively little for just selling it outright, because it was fairly used up. It had a fair amount of miles on it. That essentially, what was in the staff memo, even in our council packets for tonight, was that the director over there kept that vehicle as a work vehicle in lieu of having to buy something else that was going to cost many, many times more. So in essence, was trying to save money in the long run, is just run that truck into the ground, doing little tootling around with landscape timbers and things like that, and then just use it up instead of try and get a few dollars out of it. It's worth more because he knows the truck, he knows what the repairs have been done. You and I know both.
Right,
When you're
right,
using old vehicles, it's not worth anything except to you, because you know what it's what's gone into it. So it's being used up, and as soon as it blows up, they'll probably push it into a lake somewhere and start over.
Okay, like I said, I do have to ask those questions.
Yep.
And I have reservations about some.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a few comments on Mr. Jinke's questions? One, regarding the work session broadcasting, the first thing I came in this evening was asked, aren't we broadcasting this meeting? I did not consider this to be a visioning or a brainstorming. It's the actual budget for year 2000 that we're going over. It had many things on it: year 2000 budget review of the park dedication capital purchase plan, consideration of interfund advance of the golf course, assessment policy revisions, water service repair policy, pavement survey, snow plowing equipment, consideration of electronic sign bids, ordinance for a public hearing policy. I believe all of these things should be broadcast as a work session, and why they weren't raised my arrow right away. And in the future...
Roger, can I just speak to that? That we had the same time that we made all these sheets that are on the wall, that was part of the discussion. And
Discussion had
you did not raise that issue during that time.
The discussion had to do with visioning and brainstorming of future ways to handle the long-term financial plan of the city.
And budget.
Not specific to year 2000 budget, so I take exception to your statement. The second item that Mr. Jenke brought up, let's see, what was the second? Oh, that had to do with this road reconstruction. Again, the answer I heard was that the money being applied here for road reconstruction. At the work session, what I understood, what I understand road reconstruction to be is not what this fund is going for. This fund is not going to do it for anything for resurfacing or milling or overlaying or fixing up your street. That's not defined as road reconstruction. So I think we have a real communication gap there as to what's being defined as road reconstruction.
Point of order needs to be made that the city policy has not even been fully discussed in a work session, much less been adopted. So to blanketly state that this is not the case, or to solidly stand saying this is or is not the case, is in error.
The documents that I have in our packets that I raised the question on refers to exactly what I've just stated.
And
There
it's the
seems
point
to
of
be a
order is
distinction.
that we have not dealt with those documents. Those are not official documents.
We haven't approved them
They
yet.
have not been approved either in, I believe, either the first or the second reading.
Correct, but the information you just relayed to Mr. Jenke, I would think if I were him listening to what you said, I would have got the entire different opinion from what's really being presented and what you told Mr.
And
Jenke.
I have...
So I just wanted to make that point of clarification.
But I want to make it clear that nothing has been adopted.
Nothing has been approved
And
yet.
so it
Right.
can certainly change.
Hopefully it
So
will.
I don't want to promise anybody anything based even on your statements, seeing that the council has opportunity to change it at will prior to
I'm
adoption.
saying the miscommunication that's going on here was just a perfect example of the way you spoke to Mr. Jenke. After hearing what you said, if I were Mr. Jenke, I would have got an entire different opinion from what is being proposed.
And I
That's
would
my
also
comment.
say as a point of order that the accusing this council of miscommunicating to the residents is patently unfair.
I think that's exactly what this council does. And lastly, on the golf course funding revisited, where the $35,000 figure came from, it came from our August 16th work session where it says actual cost, and it lists down here, replacement vehicle, $35,000. If these aren't actual costs, then we shouldn't be basing information on this, because this whole thing is based on projections and actual costs, yet the actual costs aren't actual. So I'm just saying it's not a factual thing, and as far as miscommunication, well, here's a perfect example of how that can happen. Those are the
Mr. Jenke now has been shown the bill of sale for that truck.
I'm not questioning that.
So...
The question came for how the question came up in the first place.
Unless they lied when they were writing out the check, that's what it cost.
And anyway, I think my own opinion, as I'm on my horse here, communication is probably about the poorest thing I've seen this council do, and I hope to heck we can start communicating effectively, the
And-
residents can understand.
And I would say, I again
And the
would
council.
rule that point out of order.
So be it.